Tonight we begin Phase 4 of our MCU series. We have finally made it to the new current multiverse saga. I am both super excited and not very excited for what's about to come and what I'm gonna have to watch. What's up guys, my name is Ryan, welcome to my channel if you're new here. So we are continuing our MCU rewatch and review series, and in this video of course we begin Phase 4 with what some would say is a weird way to start Phase 4, but it's the way Phase 4 begins, Black Widow. And it is after I've watched the film, so of course just gonna jump in and start talking about it, and of course spoilers if you have not seen the film. Also want to apologize for no video last week. I've been kind of busy, been kind of sick. I've been dealing with and thinking about a lot of things, but don't worry, I'm getting back to it. Now when it comes to Black Widow, this is an MCU film that I'm actually a lot higher on than a lot of people. I know a lot of people, like when I watch MCU ranking videos, this is like more towards the bottom of people's lists, but for me, I actually really enjoy this one. It's gonna be pretty high on my MCU ranking that I do at the end of this series. I've heard a lot of people, including some of my own friends, say this movie is pretty forgettable. I completely disagree. There is a lot in this film that I think is very memorable and that I think about. I'm so glad we finally got a solo Black Widow focused project in the MCU. At first I was a bit weirded out when they announced this project because of the timing and of course what happened to Black Widow in Avengers Endgame, but I was also very interested and excited to finally dive into Natasha and hopefully get to know her, dive into her backstory some more. And when this film came out, I was not expecting to like it as much as I did. And the big thing about this movie for me, the thing that makes me think about this movie so highly and that I really enjoy, is the characters and the character work in this film. It has a fantastic cast. Of course, Scarlett Johansson returns one final time as Black Widow, Natasha Romanoff, and we do dive into a bit more of her character and her backstory. I really enjoy that, and she is really good in the role. But this film also introduces us to one of my personal favorite MCU characters in Yelena Belova, played by the amazing Florence Pugh. She gives a phenomenal performance in this film, and I just love her as this character. Yelena, I think, is a fantastic character, and definitely one of, if not the best, most well-developed new post-Endgame MCU character. I just think she's so funny. I love Florence Pugh's performance. She kills it as this character every time in every MCU project that she is in. Her personality, her character, her line delivery, I just pretty much love everything about her character. Florence Pugh, I think, is a fantastic emotional actress. When sadness comes over her face and you hear her voice start to crack and break and you just hear the sadness and the pain in her voice, and when she breaks down, starts crying, getting all emotional, she does such a good job at drawing you in and making you feel for her. The emotion on her face, and you feel it. And for me personally, she is a very relatable character, especially from what we get and see from her in Thunderbolts, which is one of my favorite MCU films. I thought it was a fantastic commentary on things like loneliness, depression, purpose, mental health, anxiety. A lot of things that Yelena says and talks about in that film, I have thought myself. I've had those same thoughts. I've said those same exact things. I felt that exact same way. Florence Pugh's Yelena Belova just is a standout, and she kind of steals the show from Scarlett Johansson's Black Widow. I also really enjoy David Harbour as Alexei. I believe his last name is Shostakov, aka Red Guardian. He is fantastic. He is very funny as well, and I just love his relationship with Yelena and that father-daughter dynamic that once again we explore and get to see and dive into a bit further in Thunderbolts. I just love watching the two of them interact. Once again, they are so funny and so relatable. I love the moments between them, especially the scene where after Yelena storms away from the dinner table and Alexei goes to talk to her, and Yelena thinks that all he cares about is himself, which he can kind of be that way, and she thinks he doesn't care about her, but then he starts singing her favorite childhood song, and just the emotion on their faces. I think both Florence Pugh and David Harbour do a fantastic job. When I saw this film in theaters for the first time, I was like, okay, so far Phase 4 is off to a really good start. The future of the MCU is looking bright. These two characters, I hope, are the future of the MCU. I want to see them in way more MCU projects. I hope they stick around in the MCU for a long time. I love these two new characters and being introduced to them in this film. Another character that when I hear people talk about this film, you don't really hear people talking about this character, but Rachel Weisz as Melina. She's not as big and as prominent as, you know, Natasha, Yelena, and Alexei, but I still think Rachel Weisz does a fantastic job. I really enjoy her character as well. I love just seeing these four characters interact. One of my favorite scenes in the film is that dinner table scene, and I love how they're this really unconventional family that has a lot of problems and issues with each other and very dark and painful pasts, but they also, I love how the film makes them very relatable at the same time. And just all throughout this film, just seeing these characters interact, Natasha and Yelena really do feel like sisters. Like, the interactions they have, it feels like real interactions that sisters would have. And once again, that scene at the dining room table, Alexei and Melina really do feel like mother and father figures, and they're saying things that mothers and fathers would say. They're acting like a family in that scene, and I just love seeing that so much. I just think the character work in this film is just phenomenally done. This film for me is just so emotional and relatable. I also pretty decently enjoy the story in this film. It's nothing phenomenal, but I just think it's a good story. There being this serum that kind of awakens the Black Widows that are under Dreykov's control is used on Yelena at first, and she realizes she's being controlled, and she tries to get her sister's help in freeing the other widows, and Natasha realizing that the Red Room is still active and there are still Black Widows out there that she needs to help free. I just love seeing this family taking down this monstrous criminal organization that's taking in these little girls and making them controlled weapons. It's just so satisfying seeing them set free the Black Widows at the end. I also really enjoy the action. I love the car chase scene where Yelena and Natasha are being chased by Black Widows and Taskmaster throughout the city. I love when Yelena and Natasha first meet and that action sequence in that little apartment. I love the prison break scene with Alexei, as well as the ending scene where they take down the Red Room, which I actually really like the reveal that the Red Room, which they say consistently throughout the film is like impossible to find. I love the reveal that it's actually in the sky. It's in this like helicarrier, tri-carrier thing. I thought that was pretty clever and really cool, and I love them having to escape this exploding ship in the sky at the end. I know a lot of people complain about the CGI in the third act. It looks really bad. I don't have as much of a problem with it. It doesn't bother me that much. It could have been better, but it's not a big thing for me. I do think that there is plenty to enjoy about Black Widow, but I do have some issues with it. And really, my only real main criticism about the film is with the film's villains. I feel like it definitely could have used some more work in that department. I don't think the villains are horrible like a lot of people do. Well, maybe Taskmaster, but Dreykov, I don't think he's as bad as I've heard a lot of people say. He's definitely not a great villain. I wouldn't even call him a good villain. I'd just call him like a decent, fine villain. I do think they do a really good job of building this hatred for his character, like that conversation he's having with Natasha at the end in his office, and he's just at his keyboard and he has that control pad that he's using to control the widows, and he knows where they are throughout the globe, and just hearing how he plans to use them, how he's been treating and controlling these little girls and just taking them in off the street, but then transforming them into weapons and using them for his own evil purposes. They do a great job of making you hate Dreykov. Now, he doesn't have any relatable, understandable motivation or anything. I think they could have done a better job maybe building him up and maybe diving in a bit more to his backstory and giving him a more compelling reason why he's doing what he's doing, even though it is very terrible. I'm not saying they should make us think that what he's doing is okay, but just helping us kind of understand why he's doing what he's doing. I think they could have done a bit better job of that. But my biggest criticism with the film is Taskmaster. Taskmaster, from how I've seen him portrayed in multiple pieces of Marvel media, he's a much cooler character than how they portray him in this film. I don't really like the twist with Taskmaster being Dreykov's daughter and being this silent character. And, you know, if you see in Thunderbolts, you know that they bring back that character just to kill them off, and it's like, Taskmaster is a much cooler character that I really hope the MCU brings back and does the proper comic-accurate Tony Masters version of it. I really hope they do that in the future. But yeah, Taskmaster just kind of wasted, and I don't like the direction they went with her character. But the villain thing isn't a big criticism for me, because what makes the film for me and what I feel like the primary focus is is the characters and the character work, which once again I thought was just fantastic. It's kind of like Guardians of the Galaxy. The villain Ronan, he's not very compelling, he's kind of generic, there's not much to him, but the primary focus is on the Guardians and diving into their characters and getting to know them, building care for them, and I just love spending time with those characters so much. And that's the case with Black Widow. I have issues with the villains. I thought they could have been done a bit better, but I think the primary focus is the characters, and I didn't mind that. I also know a lot of people have the criticism that this film is weirdly placed, and I agree with that to a certain extent. It coming out after the main character has died in the current present timeline, us flashing back to right after Civil War, and that's a fair criticism, but for me, how I think about this film is I view it as just a final goodbye to the character of Natasha Romanoff, aka Black Widow, and I also think that this film more so exists to set up Yelena and Alexei. Once again, I really love both those characters, and I really hope they stick around in the MCU for a long time. They are the future of the MCU, and I think it would have been weird if this film came out like after Civil War, if they went with like exactly what they went with here and introducing Yelena and Alexei. I felt like it would have been weird meeting them all the way back in 2016 and not catching up with them again until Thunderbolts in 2025. That is way too much of a gap. I think this film more so exists to set up and introduce us to the future of the MCU and to characters who are going to be very important and prominent going forward, i.e. Yelena and Alexei. But I think that's all I have to say about Black Widow. Maybe a bit controversial, a bit of a hot take, but I'm gonna give this film an 8 out of 10. I really enjoy this one. Just the emotion in this film is really what gets me, and I love the characters, getting introduced to these new characters and seeing them interact. I just really enjoy that. But thank y'all so much for watching this video. Leave a like if you enjoyed it. Let me know down in the comments below what you think of Black Widow if you've seen it, regardless of whether you severely disagree with me or you agree. Wherever you fall, would love to know your thoughts on this movie. Click right here to subscribe if you enjoy my content, and right here's my previous MCU review for Spider-Man Far From Home. Right here's a playlist of all my MCU videos if you want to check out some more of my MCU content. And with that, hope y'all have a blessed one, guys. I'll catch y'all next time in the next video.